This isn't a matter of choice. It's not an option. It's simply a matter of time. And do we will it to happen and consciously make these changes, or do we succumb to the problems that result from not dealing with it proactively? If we look at the history of pretty much any town in Southern California, what you're going to find is many of them started as small, compact, traditional towns. Fullerton is that way, Ventura, Santa Paula, Oxnard, all of them. We started as small, compact towns. And so you can usually find, when you look through all the stuff on the maps today, those original town centers.
We have now a general plan in Ventura that's all infill.
When you do that, you don't have to build as many new roads or do as much new infrastructure.
If you're going to do a region-wide solution, there are going to be some common threads.
How do you become walkable when the car is still the #1 way to get around?
The streets don't have an endless amount of capacity. It's pretty apparent that our population is going to continue to grow. If we think that we're just going to kind of status quo, keep going, and everybody will just have cars and everything will be fine, I think we're going to be really surprised to find that that's not the case.
Infill is really the answer. Brownfield development, taking advantage of already urban spaces and saving what ag and open space that we do have. I think that plays out then in terms of being able to finance transit and other things that are part of that. After a while you start seeing these things actually all kind of fit in together. It's a difficult dialogue to have with the public.
Through strategic planning, we can create districts that will be very high value, very livable, and the kind of places that people will actually seek out to visit.
If we don't accommodate the development that we're looking at accommodating along our corridors and other planning areas that we're focusing on, we won't see any investment. And the investment will go someplace else.
What developers have a hard time with is not knowing.
We can't forget the economic side of this. In trying to incentivize, you've got to find a reason for communities to embrace it. And by the same token, the developers have to be able to pencil it out.
We know the alternative to infill development and density is not acceptable because it would mean converting ag land to subdivision tracts.
On a 2-lane eucalyptus-lined road from Torrance to Fullerton, I remember seeing the houses come and the cows and the orchards disappear.
Our way of life is at stake if we don't embrace a new way of doing things. And how do you do development and residential in an area where there's thriving ag? This is a playing field with a lot of issues that I think will play out not only in Southern California, but in the Western United States, about how to integrate all of these things together in the same environment.
I think the first thing to do is to look really hard at what we've got and what we've made. Has it gotten us what we want? I don't think it has. How do we begin the process of transforming that into something different, something better, something livable and sustainable? And for me, I think that our corridors are the link. One of the good things about many of those corridors in Fullerton are that they've got, it actually was the bad thing. That is that the parcels are really deep and really big because they were set up to accommodate parking lots. To think of those parcels as parts of a neighborhood and overlaying smaller street grid systems onto those, it's a place where people could live and be in very close proximity to a lot of jobs. There's a lot of places in the world that have developed before the car was the dominant, means of getting around. We've forgotten how to make good streets in this country.
We need to recognize we do have a Mediterranean climate and capitalize on those thousands of years of ideas. And that doesn't mean that we have to change everything to little villages.
You really need to think very carefully about where you put your streets, if it's going to make sense. How wide you make your streets, those right-of-ways. If you take up too much right-of-way, then the houses and the businesses are too far away.
If you walk up and down Thompson Boulevard in Ventura right now, what you see are old car dealerships, lots of vacant land, outdoor storage.
We don't connect communities very well. And this kind of development along our Midtown corridors is exactly what we need to do to help make those connections occur and make them sort of vibrant places that people want to be in.
If you're starting from square one, my experience is it begins with agreeing on firm principles and a vision.
Find out what they agree on and then figure out how to get there. You know, if you want a walkable community, if 90% of the people want a walkable neighborhood, how are we going to do that?
The secret is to really involve the community, particularly the people that are going to be in proximity to a project or going to be affected by it, and make sure that they're part of the planning process. It takes time. I'm only starting to see what I thought would happen overnight, 20 years later. I'm not going to see my vision. I'm going to be dead and gone. I think it's about making sure that those things that I think are important, we continue to adhere to those things and realize that this thing is going to play out over a long period of time, and that what we're doing is really setting a foundation for other people to keep building on, and everything kind of flows after that.